All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Agents Unleashed podcast, the show where I help you sort the signal from the noise in the fast-paced world of agentic AI. I'm your host, Thomas Maybrier, and I'm the digital media producer for Valory, one of the core contributors to Olas. On today's show, we're going to answer the question, what is an AI agent? We'll talk about what makes something an AI agent, how other thinkers in the field have chosen to define the term, and then I'm also going to explain the Olas approach to agents and what makes them unique. This episode is sponsored by Sigil. Sigil is one of the top-performing crypto hedge funds worldwide. It's been run by crypto natives since 2018. Learn more at www.sigilfund.com. Before we dive into the material, I want to take a moment to tell you a little bit about Olas and a little bit about Agents Unleashed. So Olas is the best way for anyone to own and monetize their AI agent, and that includes people just like you. You can learn more about how to do that at olas.network. And Agents Unleashed isn't just a podcast, it's also the premier event series for people interested in agentic AI. Events have been held all over the world with thousands of in-person attendees and more than 100 different speakers and presenters. You can watch replays of the talks and presentations from previous events at olas.network/agents-unleashed, or just check out the description box or the show notes for the URL. So today we're going to do something that's actually pretty important. We're going to define our terms. We talk about AI agents a lot on this show. I also often use the term agentic AI, sometimes somewhat interchangeably, but neither of these terms, especially AI agents, are particularly clear or well-defined. Let's see if we can't fix that by taking a look at how they're most commonly used and how AI agents differ from other types of systems from the past, like bots or microservices. I also want to make sure that you get the Olas perspective on AI agents, since they have some special capabilities and design properties that make them unique. So the best place to start is at the beginning, and that's with agents. As recently as a few years ago, most people probably hadn't heard software or services described as agents, but that doesn't mean that it's a new term, not at all. In fact, the first research into agents goes all the way back to the 1940s. The agent-based model has been an area of research in fields like game theory, programming, biology, and economics, just to name a few. Researchers use agents, and in particular multi-agent systems, to model, measure, and learn about the behavior of autonomous agents and how they interact. To ground the concept a little bit more, the individual ants of an ant colony are autonomous agents in a multi-agent system, and so are the players in an MMORPG like World of Warcraft. Here's a definition that comes from Stan Franklin and Art Gresse, writing in 1997. An autonomous agent is a system situated within and part of an environment that senses that environment and acts on it over time in pursuit of its own agenda, and so as to affect what it senses in the future. At Valory, we were working on autonomous agents all the way back in 2021, and our co-founder, David Wamsley, has been in the field since 2019. However, over the past few years in particular, attention on the space and the number of people building what they call AI agents has absolutely exploded. The rise of fast, highly performant large language models like those from OpenAI and its competitors made it possible to equip agents with new abilities to act and create, and suddenly it seemed like AI agents were everywhere. Valory were early adopters of bringing LLMs into our agentic systems, and we do talk about AI agents on pretty much every episode of the show, but it's still an ambiguous term, one that not even experts in the field have total agreement on. So let's see if we can't get a little bit of clarity. So, what is an AI agent? Well, as I've hinted at, the term gets used in many different ways, especially lately. You'll see it used for things like simple customer service chatbots, autonomous agents that can search the web and generate research, to more advanced multi-agent systems where agents work together on complex goals. That's a lot of variance, but it's still a useful term despite the confusion that can come up. The way that we choose to name and describe things is important because it shapes how we think about these systems and what we imagine that they're capable of. It's also important to have these discussions because the way that we build these tools will determine their ultimate impact on society, whether they become empowering tools that serve individual users or just another mechanism for the extraction of capital, centralization of power, and the exploitation of our data for the benefit of a privileged few. One useful mental construct here can be to think of agents on a spectrum from augmentation to automation. On the one end, you have augmentation, where an agent assists you but still requires human input. This could be like ChatGPT's tool use, or the way that their new agent mode requires you to periodically step in and take control. On the other end, you have full automation, where an agent is given a goal and then runs in the background without human input to achieve it. An agent like Olas's Optimus is a good example here. You provide the capital and a goal, and Optimus will take whatever actions it deems necessary to achieve that goal. You only need to get involved if you want to change the goal or stop the process. Before we go deeper, here's one more quote that I think does a good job of defining the term. This one comes from David Wamsley, who says, "An AI agent is an autonomous artificial system that perceives its environment or context and takes actions to achieve specified goals." It operates with a degree of independent decision-making, using tools like reasoning, planning, and learning to determine what actions to execute and when, without requiring step-by-step human instructions. AI agents can adapt their behavior based on experience and interact with their surroundings and other systems in a goal-directed manner, making them capable of handling complex, multi-step tasks in pursuit of their objectives. Okay, so at the most basic level, I think we could say that an AI agent has three core functions or abilities. Number one is to perceive its environment through sensors or data inputs. Number two is to make decisions by reasoning about what it perceives. And number three is to take actions in that environment to achieve preset goals. Agents need to be able to perform these functions autonomously, so without constant human input or supervision. AI agents take a goal and then use their ability to perceive and act to try to achieve that goal. They're capable of following multi-step processes and pivoting when they encounter obstacles or new information. Agents don't just wait for commands, they actively pursue their goals. Guido Appenzeller, a partner at A16Z, says that a true agent is a system that determines how to use itself. It determines when to act, when to wait, when to stop and declare a task complete, and when to escalate a problem to a human. Now that last part, whether or not the agent should stop to escalate to a human, is an area of disagreement, and I think it will vary from agent to agent. An agent that's capable of running fully autonomously wouldn't need to do this, but there could be some designs or use cases where it is a good idea. It really depends on what the agent is meant to do and what tools it has available to it. Now, we're getting a little bit closer to a clear definition, but there's still some complexity, and that's partially because people use the term across a continuum of different designs and abilities. You can think of the spectrum like this. On the one end, it's like a car with driver assist features. It could help you steer, it might apply the brakes in an emergency, but you're still the one doing the driving. On the other end, you have what we might call a fully autonomous agent. This is something like a fully self-driving taxi or a Waymo. You set the destination, and then it navigates through the environment, makes decisions based on what it encounters on the way there, and drives until the journey is complete. You don't have to steer, and in fact, you don't even sit in the driver's seat at all. The major difference between a simpler system like a chatbot and a true agent is that an AI agent can deal with non-deterministic inputs and outputs better and handle previously unseen data. For example, an LLM-based agent could consume anything from video to a web page to a piece of code and arrive at some level of decision-making about how to proceed. This is something that a more rigid bot could just never do. The agent's ability to reason over new and unstructured data is what allows it to truly adapt rather than just follow a pre-written script. Today's show is sponsored by Sigil Fund, a top-performing regulated crypto hedge fund. Since 2018, Sigil has been delivering above-average performance via smart exposure to crypto markets. Now, after 4 years of private testing, they're opening up a new strategy for qualified investors, Sigil Stable. Sigil Stable focuses on yield farming and market-neutral strategies to provide returns uncorrelated with market prices, taking away the stress of crypto volatility. All of this comes with daily NAV reporting for investors and no lockup on the investment. Visit www.sigilfund.com for more. All right. Back to the show. Agents can also be brought together in multi-agent systems, allowing them to handle even more complex situations and goals and produce even greater outcomes than a single agent alone. We can look at Olas Predict for an example. In Olas Predict, multiple autonomous AI agents make predictions and place bets on the outcome of real-world events in something called a prediction market. If you have one AI agent, it can make a prediction about an event like company X's stock price will go up, and this is a single data point. In a prediction market with many participating agents, each with its own model, data, and incentives, agents put their money where their mouth is with their bet. If their bet is too much when their confidence is too low, then they'll likely lose money. Ideally, the market will converge on the best possible forecast about a given outcome based on the collective intelligence of all agents, weighted by how confident each agent is, so more confident agents should bet more, and less confident agents should bet less on their beliefs. Olas Predict is what's referred to as a competitive multi-agent system. This is one where the agents compete against each other, with the final result being the highest accuracy prediction about a given outcome based on the currently available information. Now that we've cleared up some of these key distinctions about what makes something an agent, I wanted to explore how Olas agents work and what makes them unique. In the Olas ecosystem, there are two main types of agents. Sovereign agents are run by a single operator on a machine that they control. They're simple to deploy and offer direct ownership to the user with minimal dependencies. Then there are decentralized agents. These are operated by multiple parties with a shared state maintained by consensus. These are suitable for use cases where no single actor should have control and you want more resilience and trust in the system. To be clear, a sovereign agent is owned decentrally by an individual, while a decentralized agent is operated decentrally by many. This is a critical distinction that gives users different levels of control and ownership depending on their needs. I'd also like to share another thing that makes Olas agents truly unique in the broader landscape. They're not just autonomous, they also satisfy a set of foundational principles that reflect the Olas vision. We'll start with self-custody. So, Olas agents can self-custody assets using their own crypto wallets. Our systems often use safes, which are a specific type of smart contract wallet. Another is discovery. Olas agents are listed in the Olas registry, which is a global directory that standardizes and makes these agents discoverable. Next, we have proof of active agent. Agents can earn rewards through proof of active agent staking, which is a staking mechanism that helps to create healthy and robust agent economies where multiple agents are coordinated. Finally, there's end-user accessibility. Through Pearl, the AI agent app store, agents can be surfaced to end users with just a few clicks. The setup is simple, and the agents are self-hosted by the user. Complex aspects like the agent's logic can be presented to the user in a simplified fashion through a more accessible front end. Additionally, an Olas agent can be built with the Olas Open Autonomy Framework or any other open source agent framework that's compatible with these characteristics. Ultimately, while any autonomous system could be called an agent, we believe that for a positive AI future, they should be ownable, auditable, and trust minimized. This isn't a strict definition of an agent, but it's our vision for what makes one trustworthy. Let's break those three down. Ownable. Well, as the user, you should be able to control or at least see the model weights, the operational logic. It shouldn't just be a service that you rent. True ownership means you can run it where you want, modify it if you so choose, and that no one can take it or the value that it creates for you away. Auditable means that you have to be able to trace the agent's actions and decisions back to their source. The transparency that the blockchain provides is great for this, and Olas agent's code is open source and available for inspection. This is particularly important as the agent runs mostly off-chain. Lastly, there's trust minimization. A system that acts on your behalf shouldn't be dependent on a single company's cloud infrastructure, one proprietary model, or a revocable API key. Trust minimization eliminates these single points of failure and makes the agent both more robust and censorship resistant. Okay, so why does this all matter so much? Well, agents aren't just another category of software. They're a fundamental reshape of how we interact with the internet, software, and value. They're rapidly becoming real digital workers and economic actors. In the future, as they automate more and more cognitive labor and affect how critical decisions get made, who holds economic leverage, what parts of our economy get automated, a clear definition and understanding is going to be incredibly important for everyone. Walled-off services that are rented to users through opaque APIs where the underlying logic and the weights are all hidden, that model is neither sustainable nor desirable if these systems are going to mediate how we interact with the internet, our money, our private data, or each other. That's precisely why Olas exists, to make it possible for anyone to own and monetize AI agents that do useful things for them. All right, so let's wrap it all up in a recap. Here's the ideas that we covered today. An AI agent is fundamentally autonomous. It operates independently to achieve its goals and functions through a cycle of perceiving its environment, reasoning about it, and acting within it. It's proactively goal-oriented. It's not just reactive. Agents rely on tools and APIs to execute complex tasks in the real world, and they can handle changing or unpredictable inputs. Agents can be solo systems or work together in multi-agent systems, where they can produce even greater outcomes, like in the Olas Predict example. Agents can be closed-source rental services, or like in the Olas ecosystem, owned by the people or organizations that operate them. Like the internet, agentic AI and AI agents are soon going to be everywhere, and we're convinced that the winning agents, the ones that will create lasting value and be worthy of trust, will be the ones that are built on this new set of principles. They're going to be transparent, their decision-making process will be open to inspection, they'll be collaborative and work together in open, interoperable networks, they're going to be built from modular, open-source components, and ultimately they're going to be owned by their users and operators, ensuring that they serve humanity first. We're not saying that this is the only way, but we're convinced that it's the best way. All right, that's all that I have for you today. I hope that this definition was helpful. I'd love to hear what you think. Please get in touch with me if you have any comments or questions. I am at Thomas Maybrier on X. I'd also like to ask for your support in growing the show. You can do that by leaving a comment, a rating, or a review wherever you get the podcast. And also, if you know someone at your work, school, or in your personal life who you think would enjoy the show, please share the episode with them. I'd love to have them on board. One last thing. If you'd like to put yourself in the running for a prize of 500 Olas tokens, please take our new listener survey. Over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be collecting your input in a short survey that should take no more than a few minutes to fill out, and one lucky winner will win 500 Olas tokens, subject to a few terms and conditions. Check out the description box or the show notes wherever you get the podcast for the link to take the survey. All right, we'll leave it here for today. This has been the Agents Unleashed podcast. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.